Hey guys, welcome to Ultimate Greatness, and today we have a review of Pies vs Dees. This is a game that was played on Friday night, and yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and get stuck into my thoughts overall about the game as we do a review, obviously. And yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get stuck into this. And yeah, let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, here we go. Alright, so obviously going into this game, it was obviously a very important game for us. The fact that, we go into this game 10-0 obviously showed that we had a lot of form going into this. Even though some may say that it wasn't a lot of form considering that it was close wins, but, at the end of the day, a win is a win. I was very, obviously happy the fact that we were able to back it up against a team, in Melbourne that, is obviously very good and that is going to make finals. That we can obviously give a massive tick. And yeah, I think this is a massive sign, and as I said, just ticks across the board in terms of the fact that I think we are serious contenders this year. I do think that this is, yeah, as I said, I do think that this is the most important game of the year. But obviously next week I think is going to be the most critical. Obviously this video isn't about next week, this is about this week, but it's just really awesome to see the fact that obviously we passed this test with flying colours. And I think now we can sort of, in a sense, open the floodgates, or something to that effect of now believing that anything is possible this season. The fact that we played the way that we did is a massive credit to the guys. And yeah, I mean, there is literally no length to what we can't achieve this season. So yeah, massive credit to the guys. Obviously, about the game in general, I was actually really surprised with how we handled the pressure, and not only how we handled the pressure, but how we put the pressure back on them. You could see that Melbourne were also struggling with the pressure that we were putting on too. So it was, obviously a credit to both ends on, handling the pressure that Melbourne were giving, but then also giving out great pressure towards Melbourne. As there was parts to the game where you could see Gawn kicking footies out on the full a few times. You could see the momentum straight away with Maynard with that Ed Langdon tackle. We know how amazing Bo is, how he's not necessarily a guy that will get you 20 disposals each week, or he'll have high numbers from a stats point of view. But the tackles that he laid were just absolutely amazing. It was just I wouldn't necessarily say a full quarter performance, because I know a lot of people have been throwing that around. I feel like you've got to do a lot more to have a full quarter performance. But in that same sense, like the way that we played Melbourne, I think a lot of credit has got to go to the playing group, as the pressure around the ball was just absolutely amazing, and was a key factor. And even so, it's not that big of a deal. But I do think that if there is something that we got to probably address, I think are probably the midfielders, and particularly the inside midfielders. Just the centre clearances. Even though Melbourne are very good at getting those clearances, like that's probably their main side to their game, that they're probably the most dangerous at. So it's not alarm bells obviously, but if there is something to improve on, that is definitely something I would be addressing if I was obviously addressing some sort of meeting in the Collingwood sense. But obviously being a supporter, I can only do so much just sitting on a couch critiquing the way that I am. Alright, so obviously I'm going to go through my 3-2-1s. Obviously I'm going to start with 1 and work my way up. I feel like when it comes to this one vote, I mean, it's a really tough one to pick, because obviously with the way that we played, I think we played an overall team game. And I know that there's going to be a few in this where I think that, some are going to be very stiff in this. But at the same time, I was thinking on impact, I was thinking on, overall, how did they do? Because there were some players that had high stats in one area, but in other areas they were a bit low. So that came into consideration for my 3-2-1s. One I'm going to give to Elliot. Elliot was absolutely, amazing. I mean, we know if he's not our best forward, he's definitely top two with probably Checkers. Those two are absolutely amazing in the forward line, and the fact that Elliot, has had a lot of good form, especially recently. It just goes to show just how much we need him. Obviously a free agent at the end of the year too, and an unrestricted free agent at that. I'm pretty sure on that. So obviously, hopefully, Elliot can talk to the people that can get that done, and we can get that done pretty quickly, because Elliot's definitely a very important piece to the Pies moving forward. I will also now discuss about my number 2 pick. So my number 2 pick, I think this is a bit of a surprise to some people. I don't think he's been mentioned a bit, but I think he definitely needs to have a bit of a shout out, even though we know how amazing he is internally. And when I say internally, I mean amongst the fans. It just staggers me how just underrated this player is, and that's Jack Crisp. So with him, he's he is just a warrior week in, week out. With the disposals he racks up, with the tackles, and then some marks, and the leadership he also brings to, which, I feel in the last 2 seasons, that's definitely something he's brought to the table immensely. Super underrated. Not a lot of probably people around the AFL competition as a whole understand how important and how good he actually is. But definitely today, he had a massive influence. Also kicked the 2 points. I feel like if he kicked at least one, if he kicked 1 goal, he might have gone up to number 1. But if he kicked 2 goals and had those stats, he definitely would have got the three votes for sure. But that was really the only thing missing in his game that probably didn't get him the 3 votes. Obviously, speaking of 3 votes, I'll now get into that. And I think for someone that has had such an amazing year, has only been on the list for 1 year, the fact that, it's probably at no surprise either to some of the supporters too, because for a kid that has had the impact that he has had, he just impacts the game in so many ways, and he's so crucial for us, and he's only 19 years old. And that's obviously he's the brother of Josh. Nick Dacos, my God, just super important. Just when you need clean ball, he's the one to pick it up and, to hit the target. I cannot emphasize enough how good he is. Probably a bit more on the defensive side of, being a half back, and, I think he definitely played a little bit of midfield as well too. So sort of that sort of half back / mid sort of thing. He was absolutely phenomenal. I think 31 disposals. Doing a lot of the hard work too, and a lot of the work that, isn't necessarily, people look at. So he can, in a sense, as good as he is, I think he does go under the radar for some people. Not probably too many to, at least very soon, because I think, people will start to realize how good he will be very soon. But yeah, definitely Nick Dacos gets my 3 votes there for sure. Alright, so obviously I'm going to go into the individual performances and moments that caught my eye. Obviously he didn't make it into the 3 votes. I gotta make sure I mention this guy straight away, because how good has AJ been? He kicked 4 goals, which I predicted pre-game. I think I predicted the goey for BOG, and then I said for my big call, I think I had AJ to kick 4+. Kicked 4, so I guess I give myself a tick for that. I think I predicted a 34-point margin, which I kind of got swept up in the whole Ed Langdon comments for sure, and I thought that, the fact that we had a couple close wins, I feel like, a big one is around the corner. I'm starting to believe that less and less each week, and, I think we just have to admit that we're just not going to be winning any games over 12 points. or over 2 goals. So that's definitely something that is, yeah, it's been such a fascinating season with that. But yeah, obviously with AJ, like, just the way he is such a hybrid forward. Like, he does a lot of the key forward things where he does a lot of aerial marking, and you know, he's obviously that big strong forward that you really want. But then as well too, just the way that he moves, like, you know, for below his knees, and just a fascinating, you know, just a fascinating prospect, like, moving forward. Like, this dude, he has got a great future at Collingwood, and yeah, my god, I can't wait to see how he turns out, because yeah, you see so many of his types around, and you know, the fact that he's got all those attributes and more, plus probably you could say even a bit of X factor. Yeah, if there was probably a fourth, if there was votes for whoever came in fourth, I probably would give it to AJ. So yeah, very, very stiff, but yeah, I've got all the faith that yeah, he will definitely be featuring in the 3-2-1s moving forward a fair bit in the fair few years. So yeah, this is only the beginning of him. So yeah, can't wait to see what he has in store next. Another guy I want to give a quick shout out to, probably one of my favorite players, and probably a guy that, you know, I definitely appreciate, and I definitely sort of get on the bandwagon, because I see this kid being so good. You know, obviously, you know, a lot of people probably don't want to hop on the bandwagon as much as I have, even though I'm starting to see he's getting a few more fans each week. But my god, like, I know he doesn't focus on stats, as I mentioned before, but Bo McCreary, my god, like, he is. And I know that I haven't been doing many Collingwood videos, so I'll just throw this out there. He is Dane Swan 2.0. Like, I cannot emphasize how much of a statement that is, in the sense of that being true. Like, the pressure that he puts on, you know, obviously he's got a lot of development to go, and I feel like with the development coaches that we have, and just coaches overall, he will get there. You know, I've even said, like, give him 4 or 5 years and he'll be one of the he'll be in the top 20 best players in the comp. That's how highly I rate him. Yes, he's obviously not getting the stats, he's not getting the numbers, but that's not his intent. You know, you see all the interviews and all that stuff, how, you know, he doesn't care if he gets the ball, he just wants to tackle, he wants to put on pressure. I believe, how many tackles did he have? He had 7 tackles, so, you know, like, 7 tackles is a lot. Obviously, you would love for him to have more of an all-rounded game, but at the end of the day, it's his second year, he's still developing, he's only young, but yeah, as I said, give him 4 or 5 years and he'll be in the top 20 best players in the competition, mark my words. Also, just want to give a massive shout out to Sidebottom as well too. Sidebottom has been absolutely amazing this year. Also played on Ed Langdon as well. Definitely I mean, there's no doubt, like, Sidey has been an absolute warrior for this club. And especially considering last year there was a lot of people that didn't want him on the list. It is one of those things when you have someone like a Sidebottom, when you start to get, like, when you become 30 years old, you know, a lot of people are very quick to say, oh, he's too old, he's too slow, he's this, he's that. I was definitely on one of those bandwagons of, you know, keep him on, like, you know, yes, he's 30, yes, that's, you know, that's on the wrong end of, you know, youth, I guess. But I think last year was definitely the exception to the rule and not the rule itself, which was a saying I definitely had in the off season. I did see, obviously, you know, I saw our season being great. But even the way that we have played this year, I didn't see us being this good. But I definitely saw, like, we definitely weren't anywhere close to a bottom 16. And yeah, the fact that, you know, it just shows with a new coach, new you know, coaching assistants around him and stuff, like a new performance, a high performance manager, and in there too. Like, you know, this whole club overall is just such a great place to be in. It's, you know, it's just got such a special feeling now, and yeah, I'm so glad we kept Sidey on, because, you know, it's one of those things. I understand it. Once you get to 30, the second you have a bad season, like, the narrative straight away is he too old? But I think, yeah, he had more of a bad season. I think more due to how he was more mentally than how he was going more physically. And the fact that he's had probably, it's obviously probably not his best season, but definitely, he's definitely had better seasons. But I mean, this is definitely right up there. I mean, you'd probably say this is his third or fourth best season, I reckon. And to say that when he's, I believe, 31, I think he's going to be 32 next year. That's just such an amazing achievement to achieve, I guess. So yeah, obviously, credit to Sidey, and yeah, that probably wraps it up for my shout outs. Alright, so what can we do for next week? What can we improve? I think my first thoughts is contested work definitely needs to be worked on. I think it just shows that we need a few inside mids to go in there, get their hands dirty, and to dish off the handball, so that we can get guys like a Crisp, or you know, guys like a Penalbury or a Lipinski, you know, that can then get the that can then get the ball on the outside, that can then deliver it to the forwards. I just don't think that, you know, they were up to par. So, but in saying that too, that's a very quick fix, and I think as well too, having played the teams that we have played, I think it is a good refresher to just know, or just to see the standard of, you know, what is final standards, which I think is gonna, you know, benefit us going forward, and then go into the finals. Because if we were gonna play teams like we have in the last 6 weeks, I believe it was, prior to Melbourne, you know, it probably would have been a concern, to be honest, because, you know, there's a whole nother thing beating, you know, your Ports of the world, your Essens of the world, you know, teams that are sort of, you know, outside the top 12. You know, actually, I believe, actually, they might even be in the top 12 at the moment, actually. I think Essens 14th, but still, anyway, like, the fact that, like, we're able to beat a team that was currently, or that was sitting second on the ladder going into this game. As I said, like, this was the game that was the most important game, but then next week is the most crucial game, because yeah, next week is guarantees us a top 2 spot if we win next week. So, but yeah, obviously the review is for this game, not next week. So, the other thing, I mean, I can't fault the defense at all. The only thing that we can maybe say is that we probably need a second key defender, or at least a key defender in general. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, I think we're rated number 1 in terms of defense. Yeah, there's really nothing to critique there. It's mainly just the midfield. So, you know, once we get that, that'll obviously, like, work itself out, and yeah, and then going into the forward line, like, again, kind of in the middle of that, in terms of, they weren't as bad as the midfield, but they weren't as good as the defense. But then when the defense is number 1 and we were a bit poor in the midfield, that probably seems about right. You know, you had AJ kicking 4, Elliot kicking 4, and I'm sure there was others that kicked goals. You know, it was definitely a fantastic effort from the forward line point of view. You know, and even, you know, we've still got guys developing. I mean, Bo's sort of that in between the midfield and forward. Like, he's gonna get games where he's gonna be kicking goals, and you know, you've got I'm just trying to think of all the other forwards, like even Jack Chinovan. Like, you know, he's still a kid. You know, he's having a bit of a rough patch at the moment, but, you know, obviously he kicked 3 against Port, but excluding that, hasn't really done too much. But he has done, like, a lot of pressure and a lot of things off ball that people don't see. So yeah, but no, this team is looking extremely good, and yeah, I just can't wait to see what this team has going forward, because, as I said, we can start to believe we can literally win the grand final this year, and that is such like, just the thought of the fact that we can actually win this year is just so awesome. And yeah, who would have thought that we would have been in this position? I mean, even for me, like, people thought I was crazy and delusional of the fact that we were going to be, you know, teasing top 4, but then fall down in the last few rounds to about 5th or 6th. That was my prediction at the start of the year, and people thought I was crazy. So, just goes to show, like, how much improvement and how good of a season this has been performance-wise, because this team, my god, like, we've been something else this year. Alright, so that is it for me. That is the end of the video. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I would like to thank everybody for watching. Yeah, I cannot wait to see how this season ends. And yeah, without further ado, we've now reached to the end of the video. So if you like the video, please like the video. And if you want more of my content, please subscribe. And I would like to thank you all for watching. Hope to see you all in another video. Thanks.